you want lines like that, lines that are kind of in your face, and they yell at you that they're support resistance lines. They don't have to have just direct bounces. You can have indirect bounces too, and the bounces don't have to be precise. Just because the wick is bouncing up above the line by 5 or 10 pips, it doesn't mean that it's not a support resistance line. It still indicates that it's an area of support and resistance. If the wick pushes above the line by a few pips, still indicates that it's an area of support resistance. Anyway, this is clearly a sign of support resistance. Now let's look at this line that I placed at the bottom, 131.96, so roughly the 132.00. We'll scroll back. Okay. Need to scroll back a little further for this one. Here we go. Alright, this is the first attempt we see recently of it trying to break the line. It broke pretty much straight through, but it did reverse. This isn't really a clear sign of support resistance because it did break quite a bit below the line. What's that? That's 50 odd pips. It did break 50 pips below the line. Not a clear sign of support resistance. This is a little better. You see the body's trying to break above the line, not succeeding, reversing, then it breaks. You can see that it clearly had trouble breaking through the line when it tried to move up through here. That one broke straight through. Here you see a strong trend stopped by the line. The body closes directly on the line, then it opens and it continues. So far it's not really that great. Very minor signs of support resistance so far. Now this here is a little better. Take a look at this. Comes down to the line, 3 candles form on the line, eventually it breaks through, comes up, bounces from the line, comes up, breaks through, bounces from the line, and then breaks through again. So these are all clear signs of support resistance. I mean, you have a direct bounce here, direct bounce there, and then you have kind of indirect bounces here and here. So those are all signs that this line is in fact a support resistance line. Scroll back a little further and take a look. Interesting. It did stop the price here. It did kind of stop the price there. You see it tried to break through, didn't quite manage. Here you have an indecision candle forming directly on the line. So some of you may know that as a reversal candle. I call them indecision candles. And then it reverses. So this definitely did show some support at this point. It did show some support here, some resistance here. Here you have almost a direct bounce. This is what I mean by imprecise. Comes down to the line. It's about 5 pips from the line here, and it bounces away 5 pips from the line. So that tells me that this is a bounce from the line, just not a very precise bounce. It bounced away 5 pips before, but that's why I refer to support resistance lines as imprecise sometimes. And I think if we want any more, we have to jump over to the weekly chart. We'll take a look at this one on the weekly chart. Now I don't really place lines based on the weekly chart, but I just want to show you that this was an effective line all the way back in 1995, and for that I had to switch to the weekly chart. You can see back in 1995, tried to break below, it couldn't. Have several wick bounces from the line. Very clear indication that this is in fact a support resistance line. Okay, so let's just place one more support resistance line. Jump back to the 4-hour chart. Okay, let's place, here's a nice peak. This is a possible support resistance line. I'm going to make this one red because as we scroll back we want to be able to easily spot this one. The more lines you put on your chart, the harder it gets to spot as you scroll back, because your chart starts jumping around as such. So if you don't have, if you don't make them different colors while you're placing them, it makes it a little harder to spot them, and it's easy to get confused. So now we're looking for a red line, and here it is. Okay, the last time it was down here, broke straight through, came straight back up. Not a good sign as far as support resistance lines goes. Something like that, not a good sign. Break straight through. Not a good sign here either. Broke straight through, came straight back down. Had trouble breaking up here, but overall it does show some minor signs of support resistance, but overall it's pretty weak. I mean, this is the strongest I've seen so far. See how it's trying to poke back up through here, and it doesn't manage until this point, but that's a really weak sign. Well, that's a little better. It's kind of imprecise bounce here, kind of a weak bounce from the line, still not that great, nor is any of this stuff here. This looks like it might not be a support resistance line. It's not looking good so far. We'll scroll back a little more. Whoa, 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 look at that. That is a complete direct bounce, and it's a double bounce. Look at that. One bounce, reverse, another bounce, reverse. Now that is a pretty strong bounce. That in itself is not big enough to confirm that it is in fact a support resistance line. I mean, we can't just place it based on this bounce and you know, the one all the way back up where I originally placed the line. That's not enough, so we'll scroll back a little further, see if there's any more evidence. Ooh, this is starting to look like quite a strong line. Came up, hit here, bounced away, came back up and it broke, but you could see this this kind of indirect bounce where the body closes on the line but the wick pushes up straight through it, and same with the next candle, body opens on the line really, but the wick pushes straight below it. Direct bounce here, and here you have kind of an indirect bounce. This is starting to look like a decent line. Ooh, look at that indirect bounce. Bullish candle, rallies up, breaks through the line, reverses, body closes on the line, and then it completely reverses. Interesting bounce, another indirect bounce, interesting one. Quite a strong one, two candles, bodies closing on the line. A few wick bounces here, wick bounces there, this one broke straight through. Wick bounce here, kind of an indirect bounce really because it's broken 5 pips below, but still it's pretty much a bounce from the line. Another kind of indirect bounce, it bounced about 5 pips above the line. Again, it's still probably a bounce from the line, although it is an indirect one. Okay, this line I'm definitely going to keep it on my chart. It didn't look good to start with. Through here, this area here, it didn't really look that good. There wasn't much signs of support and resistance here. But as we move further back, there were obvious signs that this is an actual line, and it's a good line too. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for those obvious lines. Sometimes you might get areas where it doesn't really act as a support resistance line properly, and that's okay, as long as there's lots of areas where you see obvious signs that it is a support resistance line, because that's the key. It has to be obvious, and this one, it was obvious. Okay, the first part wasn't obvious, but after that you got so many direct bounces and so many indirect bounces that it was quite obvious that that was a support resistance line. Okay, and oh, look at that, you got another bounce here, indirect bounce here. This is all recent data. This is today over here, and this is the past 2 weeks or so. Indirect bounce, indirect bounce. So this is a pretty good line. So yeah, that's how you place support resistance lines on a chart. Now all you really have to do is rinse and repeat. You place another one based on another significant point of support resistance, a recent one. For example, here you place one there because it's a recent point that shows support and resistance. This one obviously shows quite a nice bit of support, and you scroll back and you look for other signs that this line is in fact a support resistance line. I'm not going to do that now, to be honest, because this video has gone on long enough. I just wanted to show you the basics of placing support resistance lines on a chart, and hopefully you've learned the basics after watching this video. You can get more information about this on the Forex for Noobs website. It's all free, and also in the Nick B Method free ebook. So feel free to download it from the Forex for Noobs website. Again, the ebook is free, and there's a few more videos on the site about placing support resistance lines. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.